Welcome back, guys, to the end of week recap here, where we have a look at what we spoke about for Bitcoin on Monday, and then we'll jump into the altcoins and have a look at what we spoke about on Tuesday regarding the altcoin market cap, the Bitcoin dominance, and XRP's price chart. So far this week, we've seen Bitcoin break through its previous all-time high set back in January, which is great to see here because now we have seen Bitcoin finally clear all retracement levels, break out into a new all-time high, and we're starting to mirror structures like back here. So when we broke that $69,000 high here, you see we had a poke above it, we found support on it, and then eventually we broke down below the high here and then went into a long period of consolidation. Now, I don't think we're going to go into a similar period of consolidation where it lasts for about 7 months. However, I do think now that Bitcoin has poked above that all-time high, we are going to see some type of correction, whether it be a shortened version and we only form a smaller correction here like an ABC here, and then things can get going. Now, in earlier videos, we drew comparisons to how the entire bear market here through all of 2021, 2022, and 2023 felt like a smaller version of the way things broke out here, where we had the two peaks here and then price consolidated and broke down. And then we had our capitulation moment followed by an event which scared the life out of the market, which in the bottom of the 2022 bear market was the FTX scandal, where one of the biggest crypto exchanges completely collapsed and went bankrupt. And we've seen similar structures play out throughout this entire bear market that we've seen in this small stage correction. And now that we are back above the all-time high here for Bitcoin, it is likely that we will continue to follow similar structure to the entire bear market and the start of this bull market and go into some sort of consolidation like we did here, although I do think it will be much shorter and a much faster version. Here we have two examples of how price could play out at this level. This fractal here is grabbed from when Bitcoin broke that $69,000 all-time high, and you can see the similarities here as we've had that big chop zone where price pumped to the upside, dumped, pumped, rejected again, and then things got going, similar to here where you had the big move up, dump, pump back up, sideways action, then you've seen a bit of a breakout back to those highs before rejecting, similar to the way things worked here in this zone. And then from there we rallied higher to instantly reject off the all-time high and then take it all back and pump straight back up into this zone, which was marked in this area here where we had that tap back at the all-time high at $69,000 level, which we rejected from instantly, took it all back to form this topping structure, which is this entire move here. And if you simply just overlay these, you can see that we have had a lot of similar price action play out here, and that we are most likely in this stage now where things are selling off. And even in the lower time frames, you can see the sell-off, the push to a new high, and now the lower high being formed here, similar to the way we had the high being formed here, the initial sell-off, the push to the lower high, and now things are selling off. And I believe we are somewhere in a move like this for Bitcoin, and have even gone out and taken a little short here, as I do think it is quite likely we do see Bitcoin pull back to that $100,000 level. Now, on the chance that price doesn't play out like this and we do continue to push higher, the invalidation level is for Bitcoin to take out its new high that it's set here at about 111,900, and then we would likely see price actually push higher and then come back and find support on the old all-time high like so, as this is how price has also behaved in the past. So right now we're at a bit of a breaking point where price can either reject here, go in for its correction, and then we can break out to the upside, or we simply push higher and back test. Now, having a look at the Bitcoin dominance, we can see that the dominance has actually rejected from that 618 level, and now the Bitcoin dominance is breaking down here in the last 4 hours, which is quite exciting because things are playing out similar to the way they did in 2017. And you can go back and check that Bitcoin video on Monday for a bit more of a detailed breakdown on the way the dominance reacted in 2017 and how it did break down from these levels after rejecting at the 618. So if we have a look at the altcoin market here, excluding Bitcoin, so every coin in the crypto market bar Bitcoin, you can see we actually are pushing out here and starting to go for a bit of a breakout, although we are still quite a while away from those December highs set. In comparison, Bitcoin's price is up here right now and the altcoin market is still down here fighting the retracement levels. We do start to see the altcoin market move to the upside, while at the same time we see Bitcoin price actually stalled out here and potentially breaking down, leading to further confirmation that the dominance here is likely to continue breaking down from these levels, and that 618 level may be the high for the Bitcoin dominance. Jumping into select altcoins, we can also see that Ethereum's breaking to the upside and Solana also breaking to the upside. We can see XRP getting a bit of a push here. Now let's dive into what we spoke about on Tuesday's episode for the XRP price chart and see how things are playing out. So in regards to XRP, we did find rejection at that level and now have came and pulled down. And we said that once we did close below these lows here, similar to both examples we'd given in the XRP video on Tuesday, which you can go out and check here, we actually spoke about if XRP was to close a 4-hourly candle below these lows set back here in early May, that this could mark the low and we should see a fast V-bottom reversal out of here. And so far, we haven't seen a fast V-bottom reversal out, but more of a slow grind. Meanwhile, we've seen Bitcoin go and break new all-time highs. So if Bitcoin is to break down here and actually come in and consolidate back to that 100K level, how will the altcoin market hold up in this situation? When Bitcoin does go in for a big move like this, hopefully there's enough juice pushed into this altcoin market that by the time Bitcoin comes in for that correction, coins like XRP here may eventually come down and tap that 217 to $215 level that we talked about. However, all parameters of the XRP trade closing these 4-hour candles below this zone here have been met. So technically, if you look at the examples shown from Tuesday's video, you can see that price has met all the criteria to break out from these levels and go into XRP's bull run. Even if you have a look at XRP's dominance here, you can see that it has broke down through all support levels here, which we spoke about in Tuesday's video as well, seeing as XRP's dominance had played so well to here in the past, breaking down and pumping up at the same time here. And then we deviated at this area here when XRP's price actually shot up. But now we've seen things get back on track and the dominance for XRP break down accordingly with this fractal, which we had pulled from early November before XRP shot off and up into its new all-time highs in the $3 area. So if XRP's price is to continue to act in accordance with this dominance and go for that one more flush, it's likely we do see the dominance spike up here, which means XRP's price also spiking to the upside here before then eventually coming back and finding supports. Likewise, the dominance breaking down and setting new lows here. And then things can finally get started where XRP's dominance breaks free, breaks to the upside, and we can see XRP's price also break to the upside. But I think the one takeaway here is the way Bitcoin's price is going to react at these levels, and that if Bitcoin does want to break down here and correct, that it's most likely things for XRP and the altcoin market will be stalled out for a few weeks longer, depending on how Bitcoin's correction could take place here. So as far as price action for XRP, I don't see this playing out as I wasn't happy with the depth of the correction here. Although the parameters were met and we did close below, I would have liked to have seen a deeper sell-off here for XRP and then a sharper V-bottom reversal, which we just haven't really got so far. So I don't think this idea is going to play out. So what I do think is more likely is that we actually do an ABC correction here on XRP and find support down here at this $2.15 level. So over the weekend, we'll be tracking this to see how much higher XRP's price can push here, and then if we can get that sell-off and that beautiful entry zone as Bitcoin does go into this correction here. On top of that, if you have a look at the 4-hour time frame on Bitcoin, you can see that this entire move up here for Bitcoin has been forming a bearish divergence here on the RSI. And now the RSI is actually rejecting off a trend line here, adding to further confluence that it is likely that Bitcoin does come in for some kind of rejection here and correction, giving us that ideal entry zone for XRP around those $2.15, $2.17 that we've been patiently waiting for. Now, I want to keep this weekly recap short, but in XRP's video next week, there has been some very interesting things here that I found on the chart. And if you have a look back to 2017 on Litecoin and compare it to XRP's price now, you'll see something very, very interesting, even as far as price targets go for Litecoin back in 2017. So we'll save that for Tuesday's video where we talk about XRP again, but over the weekend, expecting price to sell off here or at least give us signs of how things are going to play out, whether we bounce from here, find support on the old all-time high at 109,000 and then can go in a much more bullish scenario, or we do come in for that correction here, similar to the correction that we had here when Bitcoin broke through that $69,000 all-time high, which is this line here. And then we did go into this drawn out correction. And looking back to this moment in November last year, when you can see Bitcoin did break out to the upside here, this is when all the altcoins broke out with Bitcoin. And if you've noticed so far that Bitcoin has broken out into a new all-time high, however, the altcoin market hasn't got the push, which is leading to no excitement in this market. If you caught yesterday's portfolio video, you'll see that the Google Trends views on people's YouTube videos are all way down from this moment back here in December and November, and that no excitement has hit this market yet, and that is because the altcoin market hasn't caught a bounce. Even with Bitcoin at a new all-time high, there is no excitement that has hit this market yet. However, the moment when altcoins did explode back in that early November and December period last year, when you've seen the altcoin market peak out like this, was right here where Bitcoin consolidated and then eventually broke out from that consolidation and then got ripping again. And I think it's still very likely that we experience a much smaller, tighter version of that, taking us into potentially early June before we can see price break back to the upside here. Anyways, guys, feel free to subscribe, leave a like on the video, it helps a lot. I'll see you guys for Bitcoin's update video, seeing how price plays out over the weekend. Hopefully we can start to see first signs of a sell-off and a top here, and we can get this consolidation and boring phase that's about to come up out of the way, and then we can look to enter in some awesome positions and completely fill out our portfolios if we haven't filled out our crypto portfolios for what is next to come, which is going to be the most exciting blow off top in the market as we are in very, very late stages of a bull run here. So until then, have a great weekend. I'll catch you guys on Monday.